Well, hello friends, Mark Martella here, and welcome to the first episode of Law Lunch Live, where I'm going to try to explain things to you in plain English, answer your questions, and take the fear and mystery out of the law. So, what we're going to do today is first I just want to talk to you about what my goals are for the show today. And really the first thing is to help people find answers. And again, I don't have all the answers, but if I don't have the answer, what I'm going to try to do is direct you to who may be able to help you, whether it's an attorney in my firm, whether referring you to the Florida Bar or Florida Rural Legal Services. We're going to try to find you help. Second, from time to time, I'll give you a behind-the-scenes look at what it's like to actually practice law, and it's not all as glamorous as they make it appear on television. So we're going to give you a little sneak peek there. Also, what I want to try to do is give you some tips and tools to help you stay out of legal trouble so that you don't have to go see an attorney. And that's one of the things I'm going to talk about today when we get to talk about social media. Let me mute that. It's me being delayed. And fourth, I want to have some fun. So we're going to bring on some guests. Again, we're doing this during lunch, so if you happen to be sitting at your desk having lunch and it looks good, send us a picture of it. If you're at a great restaurant, send us a picture. If you're sitting having a drink, looking over the water, make me jealous and send me a picture of that. But like I said, again, I want to make this fun, informative, and I want to thank all of you for joining me. Hi, everyone. And so, again, let's talk about a few things. First, for those of you who don't know me, again, I'm Mark Martella. Didn't introduce myself in the beginning, and my background is I've been practicing almost 30 years now, and I came down to Florida back in 2004 and was promptly greeted by Hurricane Charlie. I eventually started my own practice in 2008, and I'm currently with the firm of Icard Merrill. My practice, again, going out on my own in 2008, focused primarily on bankruptcy, foreclosure defense, defending collection actions. Prior to that, the majority of my career was in real estate. So, no, I'm not a criminal attorney. No, I'm not a personal injury attorney, but I have some of my best friends are criminal attorneys and other areas of the law. So we can certainly help you, whether it's in my firm or someone else, or direct you to somebody that may be able to help you out. Right now, my practice is located here in Charlotte County, but we have offices both in Charlotte County and Sarasota County. We have over 33 attorneys in basically every single practice area except criminal law. So we can help you. Like I said, if I can't help you, if my firm can't help you, we'll try to direct you into the right direction. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, we're going to talk about a topic that is kind of affects us every day. And if you're on social media right now watching me, obviously, it affects us. And, we saw a lot of issues with regard to social media recently. Of course, our president likes to be on social media a lot. But here's just some of the statistics that are out there. On Facebook, Facebook has 2.07 billion with the B users. So that's amazing. Instagram, that's monthly. Instagram has 800 million users monthly. And this one, and I have to confess, I'm not on it, but Snapchat has 10 billion video views each day. 10 billion. So it's huge out there. But obviously, anything you put out there stays out there. So a couple of tips. First is that, look, keep that in mind. Would you want your employer to see that? Because every employer is looking at that or future employer before they hire you. They're checking out your social media stuff. It's part of their due diligence. They'd be foolish not to. So don't put anything on the internet. I don't care if it's a private email, a private text. I don't understand why people fight through texts, especially husband and wives. Fellow husbands, you put that in a text, that ain't never going away. Versus if somebody said something, well, you could say they misheard you. Not when it's in writing and in a text. So keep that in mind. The other thing is, and we've seen it with the NFL, there are no First Amendment rights when it comes to your employer. Keep in mind, the First Amendment says that Congress shall not create any law abridging the freedom of speech. And that was applied to the states. So really the First Amendment applies to government action, not your employer. And again, we saw that in the NFL. The NFL could stop people from kneeling during the national anthem if they wanted to. For political reasons, they won't do it, but keep in mind, it is fully within their rights to do that. They own that entity. And then third, there's no First Amendment rights on a platform. Facebook could sanction you, could knock you off, could bar you. It's their property. They're just letting you use it as a mechanism. So there's no First Amendment rights there, and I know I've had plenty of friends suspended for a while due to what Facebook deemed as inappropriate comments. And if you're a business owner and tried boosting posts on Facebook, you'll know that you've probably experienced issues where they've denied your particular ad because they say it violates one of their policies. And it seems like any time I post anything with regard to, a credit or somebody who might be in debt, they don't want any negative type of things out there. So it's battling them back and forth and making appeals is like being in court and dealing with Facebook. But that's their right. That's their right. They can tell you, hey, Mark, you don't like it, go someplace else. So again, those are issues with social media just from a constitutional legal standpoint. But obviously there's tons and tons of content out there. You're creating content. I'm creating content right now. So your texts, your emails are all out there. So what happens when you get into a lawsuit? Can those things, can they be brought into court? Well, there's a really good article this month in the Florida Bar Journal, and the Florida Bar Journal is available to the public. You don't have to be an attorney to get it. I get a hard copy every month, but you can go online and get it and download it. Again, it's the Florida Bar Journal. Just go to floridabar.org, and there's a bunch of publications there. But the Bar Journal is the monthly magazine that gets sent out. And there was a great article written by Bronwyn Miller and Brian Barakat about the admissibility of social media postings. Now, I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of it, but it's are important things to think about when you're posting things, especially when you're posting things maybe when you're having some fun and may have had some adult beverages that skew your judgment. So, again, I talked to you about the amount of posts that are out there, the amount of information that is out there. So let's say you're involved in a lawsuit. Can your information be brought in? Well, whether it's a Facebook post, some text, it is a piece of evidence. So there's really three tests that get applied anytime you want to get a piece of evidence in. And the three issues is the evidence relevant? Can it be authenticated? Meaning, can you prove that it is this particular document or this particular statement from this particular person's account? And can you get around a hearsay objection? Is there an exception to the rule? Because generally you can't bring in evidence of what somebody else said unless it's offered for the truth. Or the biggest exception, I'm not going to go into the hearsay exceptions because that's about 3 weeks of classes in law school, but the most common exception is either a business record exception or it's an admission by by the particular party. So let's just talk about, hey, is it relevant? What do we mean by relevant? Well, it's relevant if it tends to prove or disprove a material fact. So let's say, for example, you have a case of food poisoning and you want to prove that you ate at that particular restaurant. Well, if you can get admitted, posts that you put with pictures of the food that you ate that night, and then how you subsequently got sick afterwards and you didn't go anyplace else, well, those may be admissible. But it also can be used against you. Let's say you had some drinks and you got into an accident, but you left the scene. And so there was no breathalyzer or anything done at that time. But there were pictures of you posted doing funnels, like you were back in college because you were hanging around with some of your college buddies at the 20-year reunion. And that's going to be an issue. So that is certainly relevant to show that you may have been intoxicated at the time of the accident. So think about that. And also keep in mind, when you throw something on Facebook, there's no claims to privacy or anything like that. You've waived that. Even though you may think you've only sent it to your friends, once you send it to some third party like a friend, you've waived any possible claims of privacy. And where this comes up a lot is in texting, especially texting while driving. Again, they're going to subpoena your phone records, and they can show if this accident happened at 10:06 and at 10:05 you were texting, that will be an issue. So we talked about it has to be relevant. The second thing is you have to authenticate it. So the easiest way, if we have a document, we have the person whose signature on it, we bring that person into court, we show them the document, you say, hey, is that your signature there? They say yes, the document's authenticated. It becomes a little bit more challenging, obviously, when we're talking about a social media post. Now, of course, if it's the person who created it, again, just like the document, they can testify. Yeah, that's my post. That's what I put out on that day. Or we can have a second-hand knowledge. Maybe somebody who was there at the time and can say, yes, I remember when she took that selfie of us, and then she posted it and shared it, and it's also on my Facebook page. You don't have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, just enough to authenticate it enough for the judge to say, okay, I'm going to let that in, and then ultimately it's a question for the jury to decide whether or not it is authentic. And quite often these issues come up in drug cases. Don't ask me why. People selling drugs like to take pictures of themselves with it, but if you are doing that, I don't think any of my followers are doing that, but not a good idea. Not a good idea. So the other way we can authenticate that's common is the business exception, business records exception. If you can show that it was something that was kept in the ordinary course of business, you can generally get that in. At some point, depending upon the situation, you could call the custodian of records for Facebook to bring in their records that show, yeah, here's the post, here's when it was done, here's how we normally keep the records. Unless you're in California, I think it's probably pretty expensive, but that is ultimately the way that you can do it and the way it may be done in a lot of more normal cases when we're trying to get in business records. And then the third hurdle we have when we're trying to get in these social media posts is hearsay. Because again, you can't just bring in something that somebody else said. It's a question of credibility, the question of whether or not it's reliable. So, like I said, there's over 20 different exceptions to the hearsay rule. I'm not going to bore you with that now because it is boring at times, and it's probably one of the toughest area of questioning when you take the bar and in classes. But again, the big exception is someone's own admission. That's the easiest way to get around the exceptions. But if you really want to delve into it more and look at the cases that were cited in the article, again, you can go back, go to floridabar.org, look for the Florida Bar Journal on the resources. And again, it's a great article written by Bronwyn Miller and Brian Barakat, again called A Prolific Landscape, the Admissibility of Social Media Postings. So again, like I said, one of the things I like to do here, if you have any questions, you can put them in the comment sections below. If you have a topic you'd like to hear me talk about, please feel free to shoot me an email. You can reach me at mark@markmartella.com. Doesn't get easier than that to remember. Also, what I'd like to share with you, if you have any particular topics that you'd like to have me address on here, be happy to talk about it. Like I said, in future shows, I'm hoping to have some guests that will join me, either live here in my conference room or via Facebook Live with different areas, including other attorneys, to talk about their areas of expertise. And then finally, before I close, if you're looking for me online, obviously you know where I am on Facebook if you're watching this, but on the web, my firm website is simply icardmerrill.com, one word, icardmerrill.com. For my own personal websites, martellalaw.com and martellabankruptcy.com, focuses really on bankruptcy issues. And then my other site, which I refer to as Mark's Money Matters, is just markmartella.com, and there I try to help people avoid having to file bankruptcy, teach them how to get out of debt without going down the road of bankruptcy. So again, that's markmartella.com. And I just want to give a plug. Like I said, my office is here in Port Charlotte in the Murdoch area, and we are in the tallest building in all of Charlotte County, a major 6-story high. I'm on the 3rd floor, and I am the highest attorney in all of Charlotte County. But tomorrow they're doing something which is kind of crazy. I think it's a thing called Over the Edge, where these crazy people are going to rappel down the side of the building. It's a fundraiser for drug-free Charlotte County. There's going to be food trucks and everything. The goal is to raise $25,000. I checked it out before I came on here, and they're already up to just over $20,000. So you can go to drug-free Charlotte County, and you can navigate to the Over the Edge website. I mean, there's people like the sheriff and the Punta Gorda police chief are a couple of the celebrity crazy people that are going over the edge tomorrow. I couldn't find out the time. I'm going to assume it's around 12ish. There's nothing on there. Hopefully they'll have a little bit more information as far as when it's going to happen. But these crazy people are going to rappel off the side of this building, and it's an all-glass building. So that is certainly unique, thanks to the landlord here, Trumbull Real Estate, that's allowing them to use the facility. So it's certainly something fun and different here in Charlotte County. Again, the address, our building is at 18501 Murdoch Circle. We're right next to the mall here, and across from Applebee's, across from the county government building. So again, come on out and check that out. Well, again, we're going to try to do this every Friday around 12:30 during lunchtime. And again, to answer your questions and stuff, if you have a particular topic or particular question you didn't want to answer, put out there publicly, shoot me an email at mark@markmartella.com. Well, until next week, I hope you have a great weekend and a very prosperous week. Take care.